This is another edition of Fantasy Huddle. I'm Randy Shaver along with Kevin Gorg. This show is brought to you by Aquarius Home Services. We're here in the Aquarius Home Services studio. Minnesota Masonic Charities, 10K Construction, and Lexus of Maplewood and Wayzata. All right, we're here. It is game week in the NFL. Of course, Thursday night, the season opens up with Dallas at Philly all the way through Monday. The Vikings, of course, play on Monday night against Chicago. Just some general comments before you and I dive into each of these games to kind of give people some ideas of players to think about to put in their lineups this week.
Yeah, I think general ideas, you should be excited, right? We've been building towards this. You and I have multiple leagues we're looking at. We've been putting these lineups together. You wait and wait and wait, and it's finally here. It's like opening that Christmas present, and when you wake up that morning, football's here. It's going to be awesome. Enjoy it. And then I think don't overreact right now. I think a lot of people are looking at the depth charts on these football teams, and you're seeing some real creative looks. I think the Hampton kid in L.A. now looked at as maybe a co-starter with Najee Harris, who really hasn't had any time in training camp. You're seeing a lot of smoke screens. NFL coaches love to do that. Let's let the games play out. Let's trust our instincts. Some of these young, talented players we've talked about.
I think that's the biggest thing that fantasy football players have to kind of be aware of is overreacting to week one, because inevitably on your waiver wire next week, there'll be a player who had a great week this week, and everybody's going to jump on him. And you may give up too soon on a player that's sitting on your roster that maybe didn't play as much in week one. And that's a dangerous thing. Sometimes the best trades or the best moves are the moves you don't make.
100%.
Right? And so try to think about having a little bit of patience after week one just to make sure that you don't give up on somebody too soon. Kevin and I are going to take these matchups. We're going to go back and forth with them. He has got half the games this week. I have half. So we're going to dive right in and give you some ideas. You're going to start Dallas and Philly playing on Thursday night. What do you got?
Well, I think it's important when you look at all these matchups to look at the posted over-under, which is very easy to find. 46.5 is a pretty high number. Philadelphia, pretty significant favorite at around a touchdown. My biggest concern with this game and this matchup is the blowout that Philadelphia might put on the Dallas Cowboys. It's certainly a possibility. But I'll start with Philadelphia. You've got a whole list of starters that you're going to want to play. Nothing out of the ordinary. I guess the dart throw for me would be their tight end, Dallas Goedert. He's solid, but he's not spectacular. In a pinch, you can play him, but you're going to trust Saquon, obviously, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, and Hurts. On the Dallas side, it's a little more complicated. Dak, absolutely. C.D. Lamb, no-brainer. I think Javonte Williams has been given the nod as the RB1.
I'm so interested in that running back room in Dallas right now, that who might emerge from that room.
You can start him, but I don't know if you can rely on him, season long. If he has a good start to the year and you can see that Jadon Blue starting to get some looks, he might be one, with Williams where you could move him. For me, the question marks are Pickens and Ferguson, the tight end. I would throw a dart with Ferguson. I would start Pickens and see how it plays out. But, CD's going to get a lion's share of those targets.
And just keep in mind, week one, things are what they are week one, that things can change over the course of time. All right, so that's the Dallas-Philly game. I've got the Friday game, Kansas City against the Chargers. This game's in Brazil on Friday night. The number is around 46. Two quality defenses. I'll bet this game as the under because I think the under in this game probably is the best move. On the Chiefs side, give me Mahomes. I'll play him. I like Xavier Worthy. I think without Rashee Rice in the lineup, he's sneaky good. I don't really love anyone else. I'm not a Pacheco fan. I just don't. I think the Chargers up front defense is a pretty good run defense. So for Kansas City, for me, yes, I'll play Mahomes. I'll play Worthy. Forget Kelsey. I'm not interested in playing Kelsey at the tight end spot. For the Chargers, I'm so curious in Hampton. I really am. And to see how that unfolds in their running back. If I have him on my team, I'm going to start him this week. Their O-line is banged up. This is an issue. Kansas City's front line is very good. So be aware of that. If I'm forced to play Justin Herbert, I will with confidence. But there's really not anyone on that Chargers offense that I'm thrilled about, even though the number, Kevin, is 46. Yeah. And when you see a number at around 46, the indications are you should play guys because, Vegas is saying this game has potential to score a lot of points. I just don't see a lot of guys on this game that are going to bring me a lot of points. And I actually wrote down boring. I think this game could be very boring on Friday night. What do you
I think the biggest news from your analysis is the Kelsey news. And that's the one for me to watch because in the back of my mind, Randy, with the engagement now to Taylor Swift, is this the final year?
I can't believe we're even talking about it.
We're going to talk about it because I do believe if it is his final year.
Yes.
And this has been Patrick Mahomes' boy. This has been his guy. Are they going to give him a little extra love in the red zone? Because they certainly didn't last year. His touchdown production has gone down a steep cliff dive in the last 3 years. I still think you have to start him if you drafted him.
If you have him playing. Obviously,
but we're talking in daily. I'm absolutely with you. I'm steering clear. Yeah. It's a divisional matchup, and you give a coach like Harbaugh a chance to really lock in. Kansas City's defense is elite.
Yes.
You give Harbaugh a chance to prepare for this thing in the entire offseason. Both games were competitive last year. I'm with you. This has 20-17 written all over it.
Yep, I agree. All right, we're going to start the Sunday games, Tampa Bay at Atlanta. What do you got?
This could be a scoregami. This could be fun.
I love this game.
Who are you going to sit? I mean, you look at Atlanta at home, Penix, I think you can sneak him into your lineups for sure. London's a stud. My smash player is Bijan Robinson. Not breaking news here. He is the best running back in fantasy football. Get him into your lineups. If you're playing daily, he's a guy that I think focus on for sure. You're not starting Kyle Pitts. Please don't do this to yourself. I learned the hard way last year. I gave him one more chance. Just don't do it. Just say no to Kyle Pitts.
Watch him go off for like 200 yards and 5 touchdowns.
He'd be one of those players I would trade quickly then because he's never going to have that value again. On the Tampa side, Baker's a must start. Mike Evans, a must start. Egbuka, a must start. With Godwin still out of the lineup, Egbuka is going to be a thing. Bucky Irvin's a start. I think you bench players like White and Otten, kind of fringe players there.
I think this over-under number is one of the largest in the league this week.
47.5 is a big number.
I mean, it's a big number. I think I agree with you 100%. I think players on both sides of that football, you've got to. If you've got those guys and you're trying to decide between a game with a lower total and players in that game and players in this game, I think you got to play those guys.
I think the key is in fantasy football, find the games where you think they're going to be high scoring on both sides and isolate on those teams.
Cincinnati, Cleveland is my game. It's a noon start on Sunday. I am all over the Cincinnati Bengals this week. They're the best fantasy team, I think, to play on the slate this week. Burrow, Chase, Higgins, Chase Brown. You got to play all of them. The Bengals defense is bad. Okay. So they're going to get multiple opportunities in this football game to score a lot of points. Cleveland is not a very good offensive team. Flacco does help. We both agree with that. Judy on that side, sure. Stay away from Njoku. He's not going to do a dang thing in the football game. But to me, the Browns are all secondary pieces. To me, the Bengals are the pieces you want to play, and don't be afraid to throw as many Bengals in your lineup as you can, and then just watch it happen because the over under in that game is about 48, and that's about the highest number as you're going to get. So I'm all in on Cincinnati.
I avoid Cleveland running backs early till we see how the dust settles.
I mean, Jerome Ford's starting. It's a mess right now in Cleveland.
Thank you.
So,
but Judy and Njoku, I'm sorry, Randy, they're both going to have the opportunity to go off this weekend. Cincinnati's defense is terrible.
So here's the scary part in this game. If the Bengals, which they're not normally do early, jump on Cleveland and get up to a 14-0 lead, you may not see the production from Chase Brown and from Higgins that you would want to see. So I take that back from Jamar Chase and Higgins, but Chase Brown in that game, that would change quite a bit.
Yeah, he's a guy I want to focus in on for daily this week for sure.
All right, Miami, Indianapolis, that's Kevin's game. It's a noon start on Sunday.
Another game with a high over-under of around 47.5 at last check. Another game where weather's not going to be a factor. It's indoors. On the Miami side, you're going to start Tua for sure. A-Chain is going to start. He's back at practice. The injury concerns are gone. I would keep an eye on Tyreek Hill. He's slated to go. There's been some issues, though, throughout training camp, and I don't know how close he is to 100%. You're still going to start him. Watch though, throughout the weekend on his status. Waddle absolutely is going to be a starter. On the Indy side, Danny Dimes is back. He throws the ball. It looks like an offense that can produce. I'm going to start his receivers. I'm starting Pittman, starting Downs. If you're looking for a dart throw, Pierce is one of those late flyers you can throw in daily. And then their tight end, Tyler Warren, is absolutely a guy to focus on. And we know what Jonathan Taylor does. And so this could be another game like the Cincy game where points are going to be everywhere and you have no concern with weather.
Yep, I like that very much. I've got the Vegas at New England game. It's a noon start on Sunday. The number is a medium number. It's around 43 in this game. To me, it's concentrated for Vegas. You've got Genty and you've got Bowers. If you have those two guys, you've got to play them because that's where their offense is going to funnel through. Geno Smith adds a lot of experience at the quarterback position. Pete Carroll, of course, is the new head football coach there. I'm not sure about Jacoby Myers and what's going on. He's got a bad attitude, I guess, the way I'll look at it. But they have a concentrated effort offensively into those two guys. So you got to play them. On the New England side, I know people are going to give Drake May some love. It's probably a good game for him to start this season against the Vegas defense is mediocre, but there's just no receivers there. I just don't. Stephon Diggs, we've talked about it before. I just don't see what everybody else sees in the New England pass offense. However, Travion Henderson, if you've got him, I think you got to play him. You got to at least give him a shot, see what he's going to do. I know they talk about splitting time between those two backs, but I think Henderson is going to end up being the one guy that you probably should rely on in that football game. But to me, the two Vegas guys are the clear-cut, Genty and Bowers.
Yeah, I agree. And the Henderson thing, don't believe what you're seeing now with the depth chart that the Patriots are putting out there.
Yeah.
They've still got Ramondre Stevenson listed as their number one guy. Remember, Stevenson's a guy that fumbled in the red zone multiple times to cost them big spots in big games last year. You're right. The young kid's the guy to have and the guy to start.
Arizona, New Orleans is a noon start on Sunday. Kev, you got that?
Lower over under here, 42.5. So Vegas does not project a ton of points. So I think you have to kind of tread lightly with both these teams. Kyler Murray is going to be a starter. You're not going to back down there. James Conner is that Mr. Reliable that's going to go out and get you double-digit fantasy points every single week. Then it gets muddy. Outside of Trey McBride, their tight end on Arizona, who is an absolute smash candidate. He should blow up against a terrible New Orleans team. Who do you trust? I guess Marvin Harrison Jr., you could start him. I wouldn't feel great about it. I think they're going to be playing from in front. Everybody else is on the bench. New Orleans, I got to tell you, I don't have a lot of excitement outside of Kamara of starting anybody. Olave, probably because they're in chase mode, but the rest of them, including Rattler, their quarterback, you want no part of this offense. Honestly, Kamara and Olave are about it, and that's really pushing it.
And that's about all I can say about that, too. I agree with everything you just said. Pittsburgh at the Jets. This is a noon start on Sunday. I just wrote puke.
I agree.
Simply puke. The number is 38.
Oof.
The Jets are actually an underdog. Are you kidding me? If I was in Vegas, I would take the under and feel good about it. There's no players in this game that I like. Maybe take a chance on Justin Fields because of the ability to run the football as a quarterback. Maybe stack him with Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson should probably get most of the targets if they're throwing the football. Breece Hall and Braylon Allen probably will split time. I see a lot of conversation about Breece Hall and people are excited. That may happen during the course of the year, but the Steelers' defense is so good. And actually, the Jets' defense is really good, which is why the number is what it is. Aaron Rodgers on the Steelers' side, no thank you. Want nothing to do with it. I feel bad for DK Metcalf. He's got a 50-year-old trying to throw him passes. To me, the only interesting part of this football game for me for the Steelers is Caleb Johnson. Will Caleb Johnson get a bunch of work? What does he look like? And what does their run offense look like in Pittsburgh? But otherwise, if you've got any of these players, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I just would not play anybody.
I don't disagree. I don't want any part of this game. You can force in Fields, you can force in Garrett Wilson all you want, but there really isn't much to this game. It's an under all the way for me as well, and it's a game in daily fantasy I am completely avoiding.
Giants in Washington, noon start on Sunday, and Kevin has that one.
Yeah, this is a fun game. It's a division rival game. Washington favored by about a touchdown, over-under creeping up in that 46.5 number. Neighbors, to me, is the guy you want to focus in on this game. If you've got him, you should be licking your chops. The Giants are likely going to be in chase mode. Washington's defense is middle of the pack. Neighbors is absolutely a candidate to go off. After that, Tyrone Tracy maybe could start their top running back. He can catch the ball a little bit. He is their RB1 right now. The rest of the Giants, for me, they're on the bench. Washington, load them up, right? This is why you draft these guys. This is why you play daily. Jaden Daniels should have a great game. McLaurin's one of his go-to guys. I look at their backfield as a backfield. We're going to wait and see. If you have to play somebody, it's probably Eckler. That's who I trust the most right now. And then my biggest question mark, Randy, is what do we do with Deebo Samuel? He's been such a fixture of the offense with Shanahan over the years in San Francisco, but there are a lot of mouths to feed, and he's a lot older now in Washington. I could use a dart throw there, and I just want to let this one play out a little bit. If I'm playing season long, I would try to put him on my bench.
Yeah, it's a wait and see for me to watch both Deebo Samuel and maybe what Zach Ertz ends up doing in that offense as well, because with McLaurin back and Jaden Daniels is just so good. There are pieces there that I'm not quite sure how they all fit this year. But I agree with you. Should be, to me, that looks like a fairly interesting game to watch.
I agree. I think the Giants are going to be better. We know Washington's going to be good. In fact, I was in Iowa last week. It was one of the Super Bowl bets I made.
You were in God's country last week.
Oh, I was.
Boy.
The Diamond Joe Casino, baby. Betting Washington to win the Super Bowl. I think could be a nice value at 22-1.
Oh, boy.
I digress.
Oh, boy. All right. I've got the last game on Sunday at noon. It's Carolina, Jacksonville. There's sneaky good stuff in this football game. If you believe in the coaching change in Jacksonville with Liam Cohen as the new head coach, then play Trevor Lawrence, play Brian Thomas. That's a combination that maybe you stack those two guys together if you've got them on your roster. For me, I'm going to kind of wait and see on Travis Hunter. If he's playing on both sides of the football, it makes me nervous. But I did draft him in quite a few of my leagues. I'm not going to start him in most of those leagues this week because I'm going to wait and see. Hopefully that doesn't bite me in the butt. I do like Brent Strange as the tight end for Jacksonville. Again, I'm intrigued by what they're going to look like offensively with this change in the coaching philosophy offensively. And I think it's going to breathe some new life into Trevor Lawrence. Carolina had the worst run defense in the NFL last year in yardage. So if you've got Jacksonville running backs and it's a muddled mess, but you may want to think about throwing those running backs in there just because Carolina was so bad defensively last year. On the Carolina side, it's a lot of wait and see for me. Bryce Young had a great finish to his season last year. Jacksonville's defense was the worst pass defense in the NFL last year. So that gives you some hope in playing Bryce Young. The young guy, Ted McMillan, getting a lot of conversation. Coker is hurt. He's not playing. So to me, it's a little bit of wait and see. Maybe the one guy that, if I have him, I'm going to focus, Chuba Hubbard.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's a guy that could get a lot of play. This game should be close. And if it is, I think there's a lot of pieces that could go off in terms of fantasy this week. But I definitely would consider playing guys in this game just because I think their defenses are not that good, which allows fantasy points to happen offensively.
I think it'll be a high-scoring game. I'm most intrigued by what happens in that running back spot with Jacksonville because, like you, I believe the Jaguars are going to be markedly better this season. Is it going to be ETN? Is it going to be Tank Bisbee? Is it going to be somebody else? They got another kid in the lineup. I'll be very intrigued by how that plays out. All
right. He's going to put on his Homer hat now because now we're going to the 3:05 game, Tennessee at Denver.
And I don't think this is going to be a great fantasy football point game. The over-under is 41.5. The Broncos are up to 7.5, favored in this game at home. I love Cam Ward long-term. I don't love him in this spot. Yep. He is a rookie quarterback making his first start on the road against a top 5 defense in the National Football League. If you have to force him in, it might be fun to see how he does, but I don't think you look forward to playing him in this spot. Calvin Ridley can be started. They're going to be in chase mode. I believe he's going to end up being their top target guy. I don't think it's going to be close. Pollard is the number one guy. He is the RB1. The other running back that they use is hurt. So if you had in a pinch, put Pollard in. But again, I think they're going to be playing from behind. On the Denver side, you love that they're favored. You love that they're likely going to win. But how many points are they going to really need to score with this defense? So I'm a little pessimistic on using them in daily fantasy. But Bo Nix, I think, is startable. Cortland Sutton, I know, is his go-to guy. And J.K. Dobbins is getting the start. But knowing this Denver team and knowing Sean Payton, I think it's going to be a split with R.J. Harvey. So I just don't know if either one of them can be reliable. So I'm not really focusing on this game as a key game to use. I do think that the top players for both teams have the opportunity, but don't isolate this game as one of the games you focus in on.
All right. Sounds good. Let's go to San Francisco, Seattle. It's a 3:05 start in Seattle. If you've got Christian McCaffrey, here you go.
Here you go.
Here you go. I mean, after last year's debacle, if you drafted him number one, I did in quite a few leagues, and you got screwed, celebrate because he's back, he's healthy, and I'm sure they're going to use him quite a bit. So I'm all over McCaffrey. I love George Kittle this week. I think George Kittle might be the top tight end versus an opponent this week. I think you're going to see a lot of action used there, and mainly because Juwan Jennings isn't going to be playing. If he does, it'll be sparingly. Pearsall is their number one receiver. When we get to the daily fantasy conversation, he's a great pick in daily fantasy this week. But I'm all over McCaffrey. If I've got Brock Purdy, I'm going to play him. We'll see how it all shakes out. But McCaffrey is by far the number one pick. On the Seattle side, the running backs are interesting. Kenneth Walker and Charbonnet. I love Charbonnet. To me, he may end up getting more attempts on the ground this week than Walker does. But we'll see how they're going to split that. They're both going to play quite a bit. As far as the passing offense goes, the 49ers had the top pass defense, or one of the top pass defenses in the league last year. So Sam Darnold's going up against that this week in his first game. I'm staying away from Seattle. From their pass offense. If I have Darnold, if I've got somebody else, I'm going to start that person. I'm a wait and see on what they're going to do. I think the 49ers is a tough test against them. It's a middling number of 44. So that kind of tells you that, yes, there's some players that will score points in fantasy, but you're going to have to pick and choose the right ones. To me, McCaffrey is by far the best choice in that game. Detroit, Green Bay. It's a 3:25 start on Sunday, and you get the big central matchup.
Yeah, Micah Parsons, welcome to Green Bay. Does that have a big effect on this game? We'll find out. He's already got an injury he's dealing with, but let's focus on the game itself. The over-under, one of the highest of the week at 49.5. There will be points in this game. The weather forecast looks good. We'll have an update for you before the weekend. Goff is a must-start. I think they're going to be in pass mode, no question. The Sun God, Amon-Ra St. Brown, must-start. Very well could smash in this spot. Williams, their distance guy, certainly a guy that you're going to want to start. And then the backfield, you're going to start Gibbs for certain. I think
just play them all.
I mean, at this point, Laporta, clearly, they're going to have to score points to beat this.
Play Laporta.
You got to play Laporta.
Confidence.
You got to play Laporta. I'll give you that. Montgomery, to me, though, is a bit of a dart throw. I want to see how this plays out. I do think they've transitioned to a place now where Gibbs is their clear number one, but Montgomery's still going to get goal line work. On the Green Bay side, if they're going to have 50 points in the game and they're the home team, you got to start Love. You got to start Golden. Golden, their young receivers have evolved now into their number one guy. Tucker Kraft is a tight end you can get cheap in daily. If you've got him on your roster, maybe a big name guy with a bad matchup, maybe you start Kraft in this spot. And then Jacobs, their running back, I think is going to feast. They're going to really focus in on him in the red zone. He is going to score. I like both sides. It's a fun game. It's going to be a high-scoring game. And as a Viking fan, I'm sure you're torn because with that addition of Micah Parsons, it feels like the baton is almost being passed. I got a feeling Detroit's going to come out there with a vengeance because they are now being slept on, and they are the team the last couple of years that's been dominant in this division.
And that number is almost 50. I mean, when you have a number that's almost 50, you have to seriously consider playing as many players in that game on your fantasy football team,
100%.
whether it's season long or daily. All right. I have the last game on the 325 docket. It's the Houston Texans against the Rams. The number's around 44. Not very exciting. Stafford is going to start. He is going to play. How effective he's going to be remains to be seen. But I think you got to look at it. Pakua and Adams, I think if you've got them, you got to play them. I mean, one of the things in fantasy football in week one is play your best players.
Yep.
Don't try to outsmart yourself and look at a matchup and go, oh, the matchup's not that good. I'm not going to play your best players. And so if you've got those two guys, you got to play them. I really love Kyren Williams this week. He's a workhorse. He's going to get the ball a lot. I know the Texans defense is pretty good, but I'm going to play Kyren Williams as one of my starting running backs for sure this week. Houston, not excited. I don't understand what the running back situation is going to be. It's a muddled mess. Nick Chubb's going to start. How effective he'll be. Maybe Woody Marks is the guy that we should all keep an eye on this week. I do love Nico Collins. CJ Stroud's healthy. When those two connect, he's very good. So I think Stroud and Kyren Williams to me are the two guys in this game that I look at as the big fantasy producers. And privately, I'm excited about my Iowa State guy and Jaden Higgins to see how well he does in week one. But that's kind of how I'm looking at it. Kyren Williams and Nico Collins are the two guys that I think you've got to play this week.
You do, and I think Higgins is one that if you drafted him like I did in multiple leagues, you're really hoping he finds a role. Every team that plays Houston's going to try to shut down Nico Collins. They're not going to respect that crew of running backs. They're not very good.
No.
But Collins is a guy they're going to focus on. So if you have a talented kid like Higgins that I think is sitting on a year that's quietly going to be very good and relevant in fantasy, he's a guy I'd look at in daily at a cheap number, and he's a guy, if you've got him in season long, this is a matchup to watch. I think he might have one of those opening days that gets people excited.
Great matchup Sunday night. Baltimore, Buffalo. Kevin's got that game, and it's got fantasy written all over it.
Yeah, this is, if you're playing fantasy, this is what you live for. Total of 52, two of the Super Bowl favorites in the AFC, and playoff rematch from last year. The quarterbacks are both smash candidates. If you can afford to play them in daily, great. If you've drafted them, you've been waiting for this moment. They're going to try to go out there and outplay each other. It's Josh Allen. It's Lamar Jackson. Let's start on the Baltimore side, where Zay Flowers is his go-to guy. I don't think that's changed. I think you're going to want to play him. After that, you're going to want to let that thing play out. Hopkins is there. Bateman is there. They've got some guys that fly under the radar, but to me, Flowers is absolutely the guy. Mark Andrews, the tight end spot, probably pretty solid, pretty safe. Nothing spectacular, Randy, but a guy you're absolutely going to start. And Derrick Henry continues to defy logic with him getting better with age. He's a monster. He'll have a big game. They're going to let him control the line of scrimmage. On the side of the Buffalo Bills, we know about Josh Allen. That's an easy one. James Cook, their running back, that's an easy one. He got paid. He's their number one guy. To me, the real curious part is the set of receivers. And the ones that are getting drafted, Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman, and Josh Palmer. Shakir's a no-brainer. He's the Adam Thielen in Buffalo, like we've seen in Minnesota, and welcome back to AT19. Underneath guy, 6 to 8 targets a game, going to get you 75 yards, a touchdown probably every other week. Shakir is safe. Between Coleman and Palmer, I want to see which one becomes their big play guy. One of those guys is going to end up being a really good receiver in fantasy. I've gone more on the drafting side of Josh Palmer. I think there's some equity there. I'm hoping that he has a season, but someone's got to get the ball here.
What about Kincaid?
Oh, I don't know what to do with Kincaid. Knox is still in the mix. The tight end spot to me is still a little muddy there. Kincaid's the guy you want of the two, but like I said, it's a shared spot. And when I'm playing a tight end, I don't want a guy that's sharing snaps.
It's almost a shared spot all the way around in their receiving core.
It's crazy.
There's nobody that stands out, and it may be one of those years where they all just kind of split everything. So you're going to have to kind of pick and choose what you like in that Buffalo offense, because to me, I agree with you. Cook and Josh Allen are the two musts. And then after that,
it's muddy.
It's kind of muddy.
It really is. And I would watch the trends early. This is a game we're all going to be watching. It's Sunday Night Football. But I think someone outside of Khalil Shakir has the opportunity to really ascend this year, and sharp fantasy players will be watching early in the season to see if they can identify that guy and then go get him.
Vikings-Bears, Monday night. It's the final game of the week one of the NFL schedule. I've got this game. The over-under's around 43, which is kind of a low number when you're looking at fantasy players. Obviously, it's an intriguing matchup for Vikings fans. for a number of reasons. One, you're going up against the Bears and Ben Johnson, the new head football coach for Chicago. What will their offense look like? How will it be different? Caleb Williams, their quarterback. The Vikings defense is so good, but the Bears offensive line has been revamped. I don't like anybody that runs the football for the Bears. The Vikings run defense is way too good. So I'm staying away from anybody that's running the ball for Chicago. I do have interest, though, in Moore, in Odunze, and Caleb Williams. The Vikings pass defense was not, yardage-wise, was not that good last year. So I think there's opportunities for the Bears to do some things. But overall, I like the Vikings side of this way more than I do Chicago. Now, having said that, we have talked ad nauseum about J.J. McCarthy. And I think that is probably in week one of the NFL in general.
Yep.
I think it's the number one question. What will that look like? How will he play? How does he work in that offense? Is he going to be a star? Is he just going to be a Brock Purdy? What's he going to be, right? We're not going to have the answers in week one, but we're going to see at least what that looks like and feels like. So that's the wild card in all of this. If you've got J.J. McCarthy and maybe you drafted him to be your starter, go for it, because he may end up having a great game against Chicago. But all of that is a question mark, right? The Vikings offensive line is revamped. It's better. Their run game is split. I know there's a lot of love out there for Mason, and rightly so. The running game to me is muddled. If I've got other backs, I'll probably play him at least week one. I'm all over Jefferson, as I should be. Hawkinson, yeah. I think that JJ will check down to the tight end probably quite a bit this week. They have so many different weapons offensively. So, yes, I'm all over Vikings players this week with some caution to see how it all plays out. But J.J. McCarthy, by far, is the most intriguing question this week in football in general, but fantasy football too.
Yeah, really cool picture floating around social media this morning of a young J.J. McCarthy 18 years ago, just a little kid at a Bears game at that exact same stadium wearing Urlacher jersey. And now it's come full circle. This is his first NFL start. Right. It's super exciting. As far as daily fantasy goes, this to me looks like a game that's going to be of the underwhelming variety. But for all of us here in the Twin Cities, super intrigued to see how it plays out. And will Thielen become a guy that once again, with a quarterback that's a rookie kind of thrown underneath, will he be a guy? And I think early on, before Addison comes back, he is absolutely a player to consider at a cheap number in daily. And if you've got him deep in your roster and you need a starter, it feels like another night where Thielen's going to be able to go out there and get you 6 or 7 catches for 80 yards.
And Vikings fans, don't overreact week one.
Exactly.
They could be terrible. They could be middling. They could be great. But all of that, it's only week one. And a lot of things can change between week 1 and week 18. All right.
Today, I want to talk a little bit about the Minnesota Masonic Charities. When you think about the Masons, I get it. You think about the funny hats, those pancake breakfasts, which are phenomenal. My dear friend John Schweitz and I have chatted about this, and it's so much more than that. They've got the Masonic home over in Bloomington. They've got the hospital for the children over at the U of M. They are the largest fraternal organization in terms of charitable needs in our country, and they deserve a ton of recognition. So thank you, Minnesota Masonic Charities, for all you do and for supporting us over here at Talk North, and a special thanks to my good friend, John Schweitz.
I'm what you would call the summer procrastinator. There's a lot of us out there. We wait on repairs, hoping they'll fix themselves. And of course, there's no chance of that. Aquarius Home Services can help you with that fix-it list with $98 off any electrical or plumbing repair. Don't let the procrastinator in you ruin what's left of your summer. Schedule today at AquariusHomeservices.com. Aquarius, local, trusted, family-owned, and earning the right to be recommended. 10K Construction is your one stop for all your general contracting needs, whether interior, exterior, residential, commercial, or multifamily properties. They build relationships with their clients, and that's how they've grown their business through referrals. Plus, they are teaming up with LP SmartSide to become Minnesota's premier siding installer. And they're also partnering with IKO Shingles as well. They've got the best of the best to do the job right. 10K Construction covers both Minnesota and Wisconsin. Now, the rumor is they charge a little extra because it's Packer land. I'm not sure about that, but what I am sure about, 10K Construction is the company you want handling all of your general contracting needs. Go to 10kconstruction.com for details.
Hey, Rosie here for Lexus of Wayzata and Lexus of Maplewood. If you're in the market for a new luxury vehicle, look no further than my good friend Charlie Swanson at Lexus. Whether you're on the west or the east side of the Twin Cities, they have got you covered with two great locations, Lexus of Wayzata and Lexus of Maplewood. Check out the all-new Lexus TX, a spacious SUV with 3 rows of seating and plenty of room for all your gear. Head over to lexusofwayzata.com or lexusofmaplewood.com for details and to find your next ride today.
Kevin and I have put together our own best starting fantasy, probably season-long fantasy football lineup for this week. Here's mine. My quarterback is Baker Mayfield. I love that game between Tampa and Atlanta. I love Jonathan Taylor this week. I think he's going to get a lot of work. He's the bell cow. Christian McCaffrey, if you're not playing him, you should, enjoy it because we don't know how long it might last, right? So I'm all over McCaffrey. I love Mike Evans this week. I think that receiving situation in Tampa, I'm putting the two together. If I got Mayfield and Evans, I'm going to play them together. Brian Thomas, I love that football game. I think a lot of points will be scored. I know I'm stealing a lot of your great players here, Kevin. George Kittle at tight end. I'm all over George Kittle this week. And Chase Brown, Cincinnati. I think realistically, that game could be lopsided in the Bengals' favor, and Brown may get a lot of work on the ground this week. And so those are my starting lineup for this week. I've got quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, a tight end, and a flex is Chase Brown.
Yeah, I'm looking at my best PPR lineup for the year. Bo Nix is where I'm going to start. I believe that the running aspect to every quarterback you look at in fantasy now becomes something that gives you a hidden edge. People don't talk about it a lot, but Bo Nix can run the football, and I think he's going to be able to do that. At the running back position, I always want a stud. I want a go-to guy. That guy for me is Jahmyr Gibbs. It's another situation where he's the best player on the field for a good football team that's going to put up points consistently. I am going to focus my PPR responsibilities on big offenses that can score big points. My under-the-radar running back, and you don't like him this week, and I respect that because the Vikings run defense, low scoring total, I get that. But DeAndre Swift is a player that played for this same coach when he was in Detroit. And I look at Caleb Williams, God bless him. He's still a player that's figuring it out. And when you get in the red zone with a young quarterback who had turned the ball over like he did last year, don't sleep on Swift getting you those 10 to 12 touchdowns in a PPR season where you can get them way late in the draft. I'm talking middle to late. DeAndre Swift's an RB1, still I think a bell cow, and no one's talking about him. At the receiver position, Devonta Smith, a lot like DeAndre Swift, does not get the headlines, and rightfully so. A.J. Brown is a stud. Philadelphia's offense scores consistently, Randy. He is a deep, big play guy. He's a home run guy. The Slim Reaper, Devonta Smith, is a guy I want to have in PPR. And then we've talked about him throughout the course of these first 4 shows. Emeka Egbuka is a thing in Tampa. And I know Godwin's coming back, but by the time he gets back, how entrenched is this guy going to be in an offense led by Baker Mayfield that's going to score a ton of points? Tight end, I'm all in on Tyler Warren. I don't always go all in on rookies, but I am not backing down on Tyler Warren. I think this kid is not only going to score 8 to 10 touchdowns through the air, he's going to run 3 to 4 touchdowns. And remember this broadcast, remember this prediction. They are going to use him in the red zone to run the football. This guy's a stud. Flex, ride or die, baby. It's Chase Brown. It's an offense that scores. It's an RB1 that's going to blow up this year. I love Chase Brown.
So just keep in mind the conversation that Kevin just spewed out about Tyler Warren, and we'll come back to this in just a second. Daily fantasy. If you're a daily fantasy player, whether it's FanDuel or DraftKings, we're going to make our predictions for daily fantasy using the FanDuel pricing this week. Kevin and I are both in some FanDuel and this week. I'm in the no sweat Millie Maker, and I just told Kevin about this. It's $5 an entry. The no sweat Millie Maker this week means that you're not going to lose any money. So play as many lineups as you possibly can. The max is 150. Because what happens is if you don't win money this week, they will credit you back that $5.
It's a free roll.
It's a free roll this week in FanDuel. So I'm playing multiple lineups in FanDuel, and this is my best FanDuel lineup, at least that I like, based on the pricing this week. And understand that the pricing in week 1 is always super cheap. So you can get so many great players in FanDuel this week because of the pricing. My quarterback is Joe Burrow, only spent $8,000. Chase Brown, I love that combination. I have Kyron Williams, was only $7,300. You know that number is going to go up after week 1. I have Jamar Chase. Again, I'm all over the Bengals in my first lineup on FanDuel this week. Drake London, only at 7,000. Are you kidding me? I'm all over Drake London. He's going to have a big day. I'm with you because I have to find value if I want to get some of these stud players, and you'll see value in my lineup. Igbuka, 5,000. Are you kidding? He's starting for Tampa this week. I'm playing them. Brock Bowers at 7,000. You'll never get Brock Bowers at 7,000.
I agree.
I know it's a lot to spend on a tight end, but you've got to play him in week 1. Travion Henderson is my
bargain.
My bargain of the week. Yeah. $4,700 on FanDuel. If he plays and he starts and he gets multiple carries and maybe a touchdown, I'm a winner. That's all I need. And I love the Broncos defense this week. $4,800. It's the highest expense you could have for a defense on FanDuel this week. But I'll take it because I know those guys are going to be all over a rookie quarterback in Tennessee. That's my daily fantasy lineup that I am playing, and one of my lineups I'm playing in the No Sweat Millie Maker on Sunday. How about you?
Great tout on the no sweat because I had played a $20 Millie Maker already on FanDuel. This is the lineup I use, but now I've got to get in and get some of those $5 free rolls in with different lineups. I try to build in daily fantasy around a player that I think I have to have. This week, to me, it's Bijan Robinson, the running back in Tampa. He was going to be my flex guy. He's my expensive guy at $8,800. So I built around that player and tried to make it affordable. Quarterback, I went to a guy that's middle of the road pricing-wise. I think he's going to have a good game. I think they're going to win. Arizona, Kyler Murray at New Orleans, who stinks on both sides of the ball. Kyler Murray's going to get us multiple touchdowns through the air. I think he can run one in. In the backfield, I'm all in on Kyron Williams at $7,300. Yep. That's a great value on a great running back that's being disrespected in the market. I needed a cheap option at running back. I thought that Washington back, Tyron Tracy, $5,900 is a guy that's going to catch a lot of footballs, a team that's going to be in chase mode, might get us in the end zone. Thought it was a decent value. Receivers, I wanted to go with at least 2 studs and then one affordable guy. My studs are Nico Collins for Houston in a good matchup at $7,900 at Las Vegas. Brian Thomas is a player that you have to try to get into all your lineups. I love the matchup against Carolina. I love his usage and how many targets he gets in the red zone. So those are my studs. My cheap option was Matthew Golden, who I think is a really hidden gem at $5,400 for Green Bay. I think he's their wide receiver number 1. Jets defense going against Pittsburgh. I'm all in. There's a lot of reasons I like this. But, oh, by the way, they're going against their old quarterback who got all the media attention last year and then jumped ship. They're going to get after the old boy Rodgers. It's going to be a lot of fun. I want a defensive touchdown. And, folks, it's David Njoku's season. You knew he would be my tight end. And, yes, he's $5,700, and he might be the best value on the board.
So one of the things you have to think about when you're if you've never played daily fantasy and you're putting lineups together, you don't have to spend up to the total amount of money. A lot of times players that win, that do well at this, don't spend all of that money. They leave money on the table, and that allows, because most people, and I'm one of them, I get nervous if I don't spend all that money, right?
What am I missing out on?
What am I missing, right? So in all strategies, you have to figure out what works for you. But I like your lineup there because you've got a good mix of high players. And I just looked at the value this week, Kevin, and I just went, oh my God, I could mix and match so many different players this week. It will not be like that next week or the weeks after on FanDuel. It'll be much tougher to find the value that makes you fit other players that are the higher priced players.
And look at it this way. You've done your drafts. You've been building up to this. You've been looking forward to the start of the National Football League season. Daily fantasy is a chance for you to throw $5 into something with a free roll where you're going to get it back and have a little extra fun. Maybe it's players on your lineup. Maybe it's players you're going against, or maybe it's players you missed out on draft night. To Randy's point, isolate the value plays where the prices are never going to be that way again. Build your lineup around some of those superstars. It's incredibly fun to sit there on a Sunday and watch some of those players go off, knowing you got a chance for some real serious prize money in week one. You're not waiting to the end of the year.
All right. This is week one of our Talk North fantasy football season. And it just so happens that Gorg and I are playing against each other.
How about
this
that?
week? And he made a trade.
I did.
He made a trade with our producer, Alex Haugen. He traded Tyler Warren, who he just
I love Tyler
couldn't
Warren.
stop gushing about.
I love Tyler
and
Warren.
Ted McMillan. And he traded for Njoku and Calvin Ridley. Alex, you got the best of that deal by far. So because of that trade, what is your starting lineup against me this week in Talk North?
Oh, ironically, I've got Kyler Murray, the same guy I'm using in daily fantasy, as my quarterback. Oh, look at there's Jahmyr Gibbs, my running back from Detroit, along with Bucky Irving. Now, listen, you'll be hard-pressed to find a better starting backfield in fantasy than Gibbs and Bucky Irving. So my receivers, Cortland Sutton, the go-to guy in Denver. Don't love the matchup. Think it's going to be low scoring, but I love the player. Calvin Ridley at Denver, again, love the player for the year. Do not love the matchup. And then Terry McLaurin, who is absolutely the go-to guy in Washington when they're throwing the football. Chase Brown, ride or die. I've been saying it all throughout the process of our show. I practice what I preach. He's in almost every one of my teams in season long, and I had to have David Njoku. You've been disrespecting David Njoku throughout the process, and now you're going to pay, and David Njoku is going to put 2 touchdowns on you this weekend, and it's going to be a difference in a game that, as the computers and the AI isolate, is like a 1-point spread between you and I. What do you got?
For those that don't remember, Kevin and I have a bet.
We do.
That Njoku would score more fantasy points than Laporta for the course of this season, which I think is insane to even think about, but that's the bet. All right. I think your lineup is much better than mine.
Wow. Gonna play that game, are we?
I do. Jaden Daniels is my quarterback. I've got King Henry and Aaron Jones. I've got good receivers, Nakua and Devonta Smith. I love Kittle. He's my tight end this week. And then I get weak. I've got Matthew Golden and I've got Jerome Ford, the starting running back for Cleveland. My bench, as I look at my draft for the Talk North League, my bench is not very good. And so I'm going to be active on the waiver wire after week one to try to strengthen what I have. I could change my 2 flex players before it's all said and done, but that's my starting lineup this week.
I don't look at Golden as weak at all. Ford, to me, is your weakest link in that lineup, but I think Golden's going to be a stud, and I think he's their top receiver, and I think throughout training camp, that's been the buzz out of Green Bay. So your lineup's better than you're giving it credit for.
I think you're trying to set me up.
I'm not at all, but I do think at quarterback, if you do look at your lineup, and this is advice for all fantasy players, you've got certain chips, and hopefully, I don't know who your backup quarterback is, but if you've got a reliable backup quarterback,
I don't even know who he is.
Okay, that's a bad sign. But let's just say you had a guy like J.J. McCarthy that was getting better week by week, and it's week 4 or 5.
Yeah.
You can trade a guy like Jaden Daniels, who's an absolute stud at the quarterback position, but maybe you are weak at the RB2 spot or need some depth at running back. Don't be afraid to make a move. I made a move, and part of that was for the show. I had to have Njoku to take on my guy, Randy. But part of it was I do think Njoku and Warren are very comparable in terms of what they'll produce this year.
And like I said, Alex, you got the better end of that trade for sure. All right, that's it. Week one is starting Thursday night, and Kevin will have an update on Friday, weather-wise, and any other late injury news or anything like that. So watch for that on Talk North, and we'll be back next week to overanalyze,
of course,
our first week of fantasy as we go up against each other. My thanks to Aquarius Home Services and to Minnesota Masonic Charities, 10K Construction, and Lexus of Maplewood and Wayzata. And we will see you next week for Fantasy Huddle. Good luck in week one.
Enjoy.